Hi, book club members. I'm Jen.
And this is Carrie.
And this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. This is episode number 113. And as always, in the holiday spirit, our book is Gobbo Rides Again by Ruairidh James. This is my new favorite holiday tradition, telling the tale of yet another adventure from yet another Red Gobbo. We posted actually no questions on our website this week because with these tiny little books, we typically just kind of wing it. So this is going to be a little stream of consciousness to talk about the Gobbo. And you know what? I think the orcs would appreciate that if we're being honest.
I think if the orcs are a stream of consciousness in mushroom
pretty
form.
Much. Yeah, I think that pretty much describes string of fungal consciousness. Spoiler warning. If you haven't yet read the book, check it out, then come back here as we're going to be discussing it from start to finish in great detail. With that, Carrie, did you enjoy the book?
I did enjoy the book.
These are always fun. I would worry if one comes out that we don't enjoy. They're just silly. They're fun. This one was very short and sweet. It got in, it got out, it told a cute story. 10 out of 10 for a Gobbo book.
I mean, it kind of had me at the pain boy going to a medical conference.
I had to reread that.
The conference.
When he was at the conference, I was like, is this a medical conference? I don't know if anyone in here used to watch Reno 911, but there was an episode where there was a dental convention in town, and they were like, oh my God, it's another dental convention. They're so weird because all this crazy stuff is happening. And then I was like, oh, maybe it was just an Orcish medical convention of a conference. And I loved his whole thing on how Humies would just rather use skulls to make lamps and robots. It was accurate.
He's even talking about he's like, even the weird ones that just want to make stacks of them for some throne.
This one was, I think, particularly interesting because of stigma. We know that pain boys are a thing. They're often played for laughs or as an antagonist almost.
Yeah, they're like torturers, right?
Mm-hmm. This was kind of interesting to hear from one of their points of view.
Well, I was already laughing at the part where he said that they make this conference pretty much to get rid of all the pain boys to make sure that they're not going to be stealing anybody's organs, which he was like, that's fair. Sure.
The orcs are not only living their best lives, they might be living in the most honest society.
I mean, yeah, very upfront.
Yeah, very upfront. And they're very much like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. In the beginning when Goggles is like, yeah, you took my goggles and gave them to another guy. Well, where's the other guy? I killed him. Oh, that makes sense. Good lad. Again, it makes a kind of sense.
Yeah.
They're living a utopic existence for orcs.
I also like that the weird boy put him in a trance by punching him.
I mean,
no oils, no meditation, just gonna punch you right in the face.
Just right in the kisser. I mean, how else would you do if you're an orc? It kind of makes sense for the weird boys.
I think another line I liked, we talked about the weird boys. He's like, weird boys come and go. Sometimes they go in really big ways.
I like the idea that even psychers amongst the orcs are highly unstable and dangerous. Even the orcs are like, that's weird. You might want to stay away from that. That whole concept to me is delightful. That nobody's really excited about people who can touch the warp. I also liked the freebooter. Say yes.
Oh yeah.
I like just the whole description of him when they were like, he was shot in the face. I mean, that's not uncommon, but he lost most of his brains. Also not technically very uncommon, but it grew around the bullet.
Yeah. It's like,
okay. Sure. And now he can't say no, which has oddly been really good for him.
I think I liked was that he was pretending he had a beaky heart and they were fighting over it to the point where one took out his own heart to trade. And so they put the beaky heart in there. It was actually 2 squid kidneys that he stapled together, and then somehow the guy came back to life, and he was like, oh, I'm going to have to do some more research on these squeak kidneys and how they could be used as a heart.
The whole description of moving organs around into more exciting places.
Yes.
It's like what chaos does, only not gross. Because it oddly makes sense. I did like the whole...
Yeah.
I liked the cunning idea of, oh, I'll just make a Red Gobbo because I'm scientific. And now that I understand, like, the whole Orcish logic is my favorite logic.
Yeah.
From start to finish. And then somehow this book ends up being like Dr. Frankenstein.
Oh my God. Like, what was like, I think it was in the prologue when they talked about how they took over Cronus 5. And it was like, here it is. First, they killed all in their past, stealing everything not nailed down, then everything that was, then the nails.
It makes you think of that scene from The Grinch. He even took the hooks.
Yeah.
It was nice and Christmassy. No, I thought this one, the whole plot of this one is fun.
I will say, though, it did take me a little bit. I was like, okay, where is this thing going? Like, parts are making me laugh, but come on. Like, the fact that this Pain Boys thing got this idea that something's wrong with the grots because they're not sneaking around. It's such a weird thing to come up with. And then he goes and makes
But again, it makes sense. Like, by Orcish logic, it makes sense. Like, when he talks about how the Grot in the beginning says, oh, sorry. And you're just like, he's not being sarcastic and he's not being scared. He sounds genuinely sorry. That would be a red flag to the orcs.
Yeah. I mean, just, yeah. Of all those things. And like, they're working. Like, they're working hard. And of course, like, the big boss is like, I don't see a problem.
The big bosses are always a consistently interesting thing to me because obviously they're in charge, but they didn't get very rarely are we treated to one that is actually cunning. It's almost always through the brute force, right? So how many times have we read these books now where the big boss is presented with somebody who's actually thinking something maybe a little bit non-orcishly logical, and their reaction is, so what the hell's wrong with you? It's always it's fun to me. Again, their society works because they believe it does.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I liked the whole the conference part is really where I started to get into it. Like, oh, this conference piece. And then as soon as he thinks that I could make a Red Gobbo. Oh, okay. Oh, and the freebooters are going to be in part of this? Perfect. Awesome. Now I'm sold. But that's, when you think about it, it is like a 105-page book. I think that's like page 37 or something like that when they start to get there. So it's almost a third of the way into the book. Mm-hmm. Not that long.
I think really what it was for me is when he goes to Mechtown. That's when I was like, okay, I'm along for the ride. Mm-hmm. With whatever's going on here. This is crazy.
I would agree with that. That's when it really does pick up. And then from there, all of a sudden I was like, oh, and I'm done with the book.
And I just wasn't sure how the Red Gobbo was coming into play here. I was like, I don't understand where this is going. But the payoff made it all worth it in the end.
Well, and the whole idea of all of these versions of the Red Gobbo that don't actually work, and aren't the Red Gobbo. And I actually love when Mechtown, when they're first talking about making him, and they're like, oh, so we want to make him a mech. Oh yeah, sure. No, that's not how any of this works. But like, sure.
You just decided. I love that. He just was so confused by it. You just decided? Yeah, that's kind of what happens.
Did you like the end? Did you like the reveal with Goggles?
Yes. I had a feeling that...
Same. Not
that Goggles was exactly the Red Gobbo, but I had a feeling that he wasn't 100% on the up and up for any of this.
Right. They're definitely seemed to be something with him that was off. And not just in that grot way. Like,
Right.
off. I actually thought the ending was, again, everybody's living their best life. And I like that, I liked that Stimmo was just kind of like, oh, damn it. Like, wasn't angry, wasn't anything else, was just kind of like, oh, that tracks.
Yeah. But can I at least go out like how I should go out? Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
I did like when he's like, you'll tell everyone I went down swinging, right? No. Okay. But can I at least go out fighting? Yeah. Go on, Din. I mean, again, it's kind of a nice Christmas story. It brought everyone together. No, I thought it was, I like the whole concept of the Red Gobbo. I think they're doing a really good job with it, with this idea of like each of the stories is very much self-contained. Each of the stories, because again, as we've always said, who are the orcs' worst enemy? Themselves. And that extends to the grots, right? So you have this figure trying to lead to the glorious revolution. They can't survive long enough to really do anything. They just win these like little victories here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel like the orcs are the very definition of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
At all times.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even like 2
So,
steps back.
Yeah, probably depending on that. That's probably accurate. Here's the thing that I wonder, especially on the heels of from the Black Library preview, they showed that we're going to be getting a sequel to Brutal Cunning. Uthak Blackhawk is coming back. Super excited, super awesome. The Gobbos, right? The only other Grot book we really had was the one that was about Gazgul Thraka, told from Makari's point of view. And Gobbo book every year, absolutely love it. Love it for Christmas. I think it's a really neat little thing, and then it's always like a short little book. Does Gobbo or any type of Grot deserve a full book?
I don't think so. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if that could hold our
So
attention that long.
I don't either. So I was looking back at the other. Oh, I must have put them away. I must have been in a cleaning mood because I had them out like 3 hours ago. Looking through them, this one I think is one of the shorter ones, if I recall correctly.
Definitely.
The first one was definitely the longest one. I thought this was actually arguably the perfect length because very quick beginning, middle, end, did not overstay its welcome, was very cute. It's longer than a short story, obviously, because you need a little bit more time to go. But I don't know that the gag would hold that long.
Mm-hmm. I think probably the closest we've had, though, I don't remember which book this is, and maybe it was a Dagaba book that I'm totally missing. Take up is that one book where all the orcs, where the big boss was killed and the weird boy sets him on a quest, basically. You know which one I'm talking about? Where they have to go try to find this portal?
Yes.
Because they had captured, because the Red Axes had captured a captain. But
yes.
But a Grot was also leading one of the charges to
That's
find
the
this thing first.
Second Gobbo book, isn't it?
Is that the Gobbo book?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then maybe not. I guess I was getting those confused. I didn't think it was, though.
I could be wrong.
All right. Well, now I'm going to have to
Now I'm going back through the books that we've read to see which orc book it could have been. It wasn't War Boss. Oh, was it War Boss?
Oh, that's what it was War Boss.
You're right. It was War Boss.
So there you go. So there's one. That was kind of about a Grot.
Kind of. But there were a bunch of different people on there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was absolutely War Boss. Yeah, there was a bunch of other people going on that. So it worked really well because it wasn't just the one Grot. Mm-hmm. You need to diversify a bit. You need to diversify a bit for things to, I think the Grots, a lot of their humor is based around the fact that they are kind of they're sneaky and they're a little sniveling and they're conniving and I mean all of that in the best way possible.
And they get kicked a lot.
They get kicked a lot, yeah. It works really well. That whole War Boss book, actually, God, that was a good one. That one worked really well in general. We read that that one this year too.
Well, damn.
Yeah, like, as we're approaching the book club awards,
Now that I know that I read that this year, that just kind of changes everything in my brain.
Yeah, because I remember now that the funny thing about it is that we read that by Mike Brooks, and then The Lion by Mike Brooks. Slight tonal shift, just slight though, just slight, and then the Lion disappeared, and we've not seen him again since. If he would have appeared in this book, that actually would have made me really, really excited. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have been like, oh, he is still alive.
I don't see the Lion being very festive.
No. Text-to-speech had Rogel Dorn read The Night Before Christmas to Boy.
That's funny.
I absolutely love that. If you have not seen that video, it is.
I have not. Okay.
Yeah, just text-to-speech. I think it's Sanguinala or so. It's he like reads "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" and it's quite amazing. It's a boy. Highly recommend. Rogel Dorn, obviously, oddly enough, I can see him doing it. I don't see the Lion being very festive, although that would have been kind of funny. Grots for Christmas. Again, everyone would have been living their best lives. He's a monster hunter. Orcs are technically monsters. They would have all died gloriously. Well, maybe not gloriously, but as gloriously as Stemma dies at the end of this.
Well, I mean, so the way, Stemma goes down, basically, like army ant style. Think about it. One of the weird ways that I'm always afraid of dying, even though that's most likely never going to happen, but it's a fear. It's an irrational fear, right? That's one thing I always wondered with the orcs, because there are more grots than orcs, and if the grots ever did become organized, they could be like that. Just, one of the great lines in Pixar's A Bug's Life, when the grasshoppers are talking about, it's just a couple of ants, and Hopper throws one seed at them. He's like, "Does that hurt?" He goes, "Nope," and he dumps a whole load of seeds on them, basically kills them. He's like, "That's what will happen if we let them think that they can't, if they realize what they could do." Grots are the same way.
Yeah, and it's one of those interesting things that I remember from the I think it was from the Gazgul Thraka book. Makari talks about how, because remember they kind of say, they're like, "Why did you let him treat you that way?" And he's like, "Well, because I'm a grot. Like, this is my purpose in life." Like this hierarchical nature is almost bred into them. Like, I mean, I guess if you consider that they are, the result of genetic engineering, like that hierarchical status. But then you have the Red Gobbo and this concept of a revolution. But as we said, again, organization is their worst enemy.
There was only one orc who organized. That was Gazgul Thraka.
Yes. Exactly. He's basically the only thing that can organize them. And even then, tenuous at best.
Right.
And I think that was one of the things from this book that, again, and I always like it as a concept. I know it comes out a lot, but I do like this concept of, some of us, like, it's like it's the weird, like, of that quote from Men in Black: "A person is smart, people are stupid. An orc is cunning, orcs, plural, are not."
Right.
Again, they're too fighty, which is good for humans.
Yes.
Definitely good for humans, especially as he created his whole little army of Red Gobbos, which let's talk about that, shall we? Did you like that as a plot device, even though it unlocked one of your core irrational fears?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that was kind of fun. It's like, here's the revolution. This is basically we're doing this, and we lulled you into a false sense of complacency. I mean, was that one hockey coach said complacency killed the cat? Well, you know what? It killed these orcs.
Shout out to Coach Bozeman. Exactly. Exactly. That was one of my favorite lines in this book is at the end when Goggles, or the Red Gobbo, nay, Goggles, when he says, you know what's cunning? Pretending to not be cunning.
Yep.
Yeah. That was, again, there are these like frightening flashes of cunning in orcs and grots in general, right? We read all these books where all of a sudden somebody, like the tumblers will click and they figure out something and you're like, oh, that's bad. And then they generally get killed or they get in a fight and get distracted with something else.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're fine.
Typically, they get into a fight. I mean, like, look at these orcs. They're bored on this planet. There's no one else left to kill. So they're either kind of waiting for someone, the Imperium, to come down and start a fight, or they're going to move on, or they're just going to fight amongst each other.
Yeah. Exactly that. And I liked the whole concept. I thought it was really fun. I think, I hope they keep doing this. I hope this is the one book that every year we can count on for sure. Yeah. Following the release schedule.
That is true. Oh, I did also like that his favorite Humies were the Commissars. Because they liked shooting their own people.
I read that and I was like, they are rather orky in that way, aren't they? I like
probably one of the things I loved in the Caiaphas Cain books that he always mentions is that, he always talks about how if he looks out for the welfare of everybody around him, then they're less likely.
Right, they're less likely to shoot him.
Right, less likely to have a friendly fire incident.
Of which, that's a thing.
And it's one that he talks about in, of course, my favorite book of his, Cain's Last Stand, where he talks about he tries to drill that into his students. If you want to survive, don't be that commissar.
Don't be a dick. Not everybody got that memo.
No.
Do you know who did kind of get that memo, though, but we will never know? Honor Bound.
Oh, right.
Severina Rain.
That's true. She really did not just shoot people for funsies.
No.
She did shoot some cowards.
She shot some cowards?
Cain wouldn't have done that. He would have talked him like, no, are you sure you really want to leave?
Right. Or like totally put them on Front Street and force them to be like, I guess I'm staying now. Yeah, there would have been some interesting stuff there, I think. But yeah, I'm a little grumpy about Severina Rain. Then we're not going to see another one because it's the only like actual romance novel in all of Warhammer 40k, and I mean that in the best way possible. Thank you very much.
One that wasn't like the one that we joke about in Apocalypse, where they.
I mean, that was super romantic up until that point where
until the murdering happened.
Raven Guard.
It was so great until the Raven Guard.
Until the Raven Guard showed up. They're fun at parties.
That's totally what I think of when I think of fun at parties. It's the Raven Guard.
It's the Raven Guard. Yeah.
Next in line is the Word Bearers.
Okay, so on one hand, I don't think you're wrong. However, I really don't like that they're that close to the Raven Guard.
I'm just talking about being fun at parties.
I don't like that they're that close to the Raven Guard, but I think you're not wrong either. I'm uncomfortable with this whole concept. Although I would like to imagine that the Raven Guard would kind of be like, what was that Mike Myers character name? Now is the time on Sprockets when we dance. I kind of imagine them being like, the goths at the German discotheque. Just a lot of like.
The German, it's a German discotheque.
Oddly specific, and yet argue against it.
I can't. That's why I'm laughing. Because I can totally see what they would look like.
There's a video on the internet that I love where somebody filmed a bunch of bats just hanging upside down stretching, but they flipped it upside down. So they look like they're at a German nightclub dancing. Look it up. It's funny. That's kind of how I imagine the Raven Guard being. I'm not going to lie to you.
Because I think it's just like a lot of just like bobbing heads.
Just a lot of bobbing heads and every now and then a little like, I'm moving. Exactly.
My feet are firmly planted to the floor, though.
Exactly. There is no foot movery. I would really like to see an orc Christmas party or an orc party of any type from a distance, like a safe distance, like through like Trazen's interdimensional, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That's true. Like not even through binoculars, like several miles away. No. I think
No,
I think Trazen's interdimensional pocket is probably
the best.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to imagine that Trazen has a whole collection of Red Gobbos. He just collects them and hangs them on his tree.
I mean, they'd be very interesting to talk to.
Right? Just put them in stasis and just hang them on a tree. There we go. There's 2023s. There's 2022s. Just saying. They'd at least be fun.
I kind of want this fan art now. Somebody out there who's listening to this or knows somebody, fan art, please.
Trazen hanging up Red Gobbos. I mean, where else do you put them if they don't die? I did like that. Like, you killed the other one. Oh yeah, the get in the coat. I like the whole concept of the red coat too. I'm not gonna lie. There's like the whole vibe of the Red Gobbo is just delightful.
Well, it's one thing I liked from last year's book with Denny Flowers. That basically they're making the Red Gobbo as the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes. Exactly that. I like that concept. I like that anyone, the real treasure are the friends we made along the way. The Red Gobbo is in each of us. If you only have the courage.
You just have to believe.
You just have to believe. If you clap your hands, the Red Gobbo.
Or every time a bell rings, Red Gobbo gets his coat.
Gobbo gets his coat. Eventually, they're all going to meet at the conference. Just saying. Again, this book alone, like this, that might be the most delightful concept in this entire book is the fact that there's a medical conference for orcs. If that doesn't come up again in a future orc book, I'm going to be sorely disappointed.
I mean, the medical conference, how orcs do negotiations amongst friends, that was pretty funny.
Right, but like the concept like of an adding to the lore, an orcish medical conference.
Well, right. I mean, I'm just talking about like all the things I loved in here, like the
conference,
the negotiations, just
which are oddly structured,
right,
and yet not.
It's organized chaos.
It is literally organized chaos,
and really, all the medical lessons.
Yes. Yes, definitely an emphasis on that last syllable. Because I like the idea. That's the other thing that's kind of fun about it is the idea of that there actually is almost an art to what the Pain Boys do. Sadistic, but more often than not. But there is kind of an art to it.
I did like how he said that they tried practicing the stuff on Humies, and he's just like, they're very sensitive.
Yeah. Unless you got the warp running through you, you're not going to live with your spleen outside.
Right.
It ain't happening for you, buddy. I like that concept. I like the idea that the Pain Boys, kind of like the Weird Boys, where they occupy this weird space of like, well, we're hesitate to use the word educated, but
right.
There is a type of like, oh, okay, like a scientific, okay, I observed this and now I know to do this. And I know, like he mentioned several times that I'm good at killing. I would be really good at killing orcs because I know how they function. I know how to repair them. And I like that entire concept. Again, every time we chip away at the orcs, you just find another little nugget to love. That cunning is part of that for me.
Love and yet be terrified by.
Oh my God. That's the thing that's kind of funny about this book too, is that it's really funny when you read it, and it's very humorous, but then all of a sudden, if you take a step back and realize that, oh, there actually is a method to their madness, and they can keep themselves, like, fighting, and they do actually have medics who help them keep fighting, because they're not already terrifying enough. The idea that they can continue to fight, basically indefinitely,
In fact,
because they can get fixed up.
I mean, that one guy, he threw a stick bomb at him. And then he came back and he was like, had no skin. And he's still fighting. It's like, I'm here to cure your skin condition. What skin condition? It's like, well, the fact you don't have any.
Right. It is, there is something a little scary about it. And as funny as the conference is, again, you can just keep adding all of these little like layers of, okay, there's some thinky bits going on in there.
Well, especially when he was leading his own panel about why they need to be looking at what the Humies do for medics.
Okay, so now, here's the thought experiment that I liked to have. So, almost everything they do kind of in a way of like a simulacrum of what humans do, right? They learn a lot from us and from the pointies. They learn a lot. What conference did they crash? To learn about a medical conference where they have he has a panel where he had to convince people about what he was talking about.
He was like, it was a pretty successful conference. I mean, he learned some new things and he came back with some more body parts. That's what every other doctor comes back with, more knowledge and body parts.
Can you imagine that? Like surgeons going to a conference like in Reno or in Vegas and they come back and they're like, oh, hey, I found 2 hearts though. Like, where did you get those? Oh, the doctors that disagreed with me. Tracks.
Right.
Makes sense. Again, there's an odd logic to the Orcish society, and I like it. Me gusta. Even though it's a little, it is. Again, it's a little terrifying, but I have to wonder, where did you figure out to do a conference? Like, I love this concept, but now I have to wonder, like, did somebody crash one time? Were they invading a planet and they happened to be having a conference and they were like, it's not a bad idea.
Happened to crash into a Medicaid conference.
That would have been really funny. And they come back and explain, and it was probably the pirates. The orc pirates were probably like, so, check this shit out. They all go into a room, they take turns, and they learn. And of course, nobody believed them. It took them a few times of telling the story.
Right.
That was the other thing that I really liked. By the way, when they talked about the Red Gobbo, and he's like, I can make one. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait a minute. All of my story has been stripped down to be funny and punchlines around how stupid grots are. Oh, man. Like, turns out I really don't know anything. I find that very funny, too.
Had to go do research.
That he actually had to go do research. Yeah, that was particularly humorous to me.
I also liked it that he came out of his trance with the weird boy being killed by headless grots.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this tracks.
This again, it all tracks. All tracks, all makes sense for the it all makes sense for the universe. And again, I like that this is how broad that this universe is that you can do what is straight up just a silly Christmas story.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Now, I don't know that it would make sense if you tried to do a Christmas story in the Imperial Guard Regiment. It would probably end up being more like the Christmas truce that was called in World War One, which was not humorous at all. Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know that they celebrate Sanguinala somewhere.
Well, I'm sure they do, but they don't draw a temporary truce with the Chaos troops.
I think the last book maybe the only book I've ever read that actually mentioned participation in a Sanguinala festival was the second book of Eisenhorn when Ravener got exploded.
Oh, him? He got exploded. Yeah.
Because that was during the Sanguinala Festival, if I remember correctly.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Ravener. Remember how hot you were with your hot fiance? You're now in a box and she's dead.
I was going to say, technically, she's in a box, too.
Yeah, just a box in the ground. I don't know if there's anything left of her to put in a box. There wasn't much left of him.
Her sword survived somehow.
Well, yes. Because logic.
Also,
Logic.
plot devices. Logic with a K.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly that. But I do think it's a fun. I like that they do it. I think it fits. It's fun. It's silly. It's a quick, breezy read for us as we go into the holiday season. As we take a kind of 3-week break.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll be
about
back
that
next
long.
week with our.
Yeah, we'll be back next
Yeah,
week
about that.
with the awards show. And then we'll be out for about at least 2 weeks after that.
2 weeks after that, as we start the new year in our favorite way.
Yeah, I had to reach back here.
It only hits us because it loves us.
Mm.
We are reading the next Dawn of Fire
At
series
least it's
book,
almost over.
Sea of Souls. You guys, this is what kills me is I love Chris Reid. I love Chris Reid.
Maybe this one
And
will
if
be good.
anyone, no, don't even say it. Don't even say it because I have. If anyone can get the train on the rails, it's going to be Chris. However, I feel like every time I'm like, maybe it's good, I jinx it and it sucks.
But
My heart won't
it's
handle
got Pluto
shitty
Nash on the
Chris Reid.
cover. It's going to be good.
Can we talk about that for a second? Can we look? I'm not necessarily dissing it because it's beautiful artwork.
It is beautiful, but that's Eddie Murphy, right?
That's Pluto Nash. That's not even Eddie Murphy. That's Pluto Nash. Like, I love it. I love the art. I dig it. I'm immediately intrigued to know who this person is. I think the whole art is great. His whole the epaulette there, just yes, dial points.
Although it looks, because it's purpley, and with the wings, it kind of looks Emperor's Children-ish.
It kind of does. It's giving Fulgrim.
Yeah, especially
think
with
I
the
used
wings
that
there.
Kinsey phrasing correctly. Yes. I'm not even gonna say I'm optimistic because I'm. If this one's not good, I'm gonna be crushed, you guys. It's gonna be a really awkward podcast. So it's just gonna be me sitting going, I want to talk about this.
Start of the year, yay! This is what they have to offer.
It can only go up from there.
Don't curse
Although
us.
if you watched the preview, there is some pretty exciting stuff coming out next year. Having said that, they only released what they revealed that there's going to be another Dark Angels book. There's going to be that Adeptus Sororitas book. There's going to be an Emperor's Children book. There's going to be an Ahriman book, which no, I am done on Ahriman.
I will get it.
There's going to be, what was the other 40k book they revealed? Oh, there's going to be in that the sequel to Brutal Cunning. So obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff for us to read, but I foresee us probably needing to dig into the Wayback Machine as well.
We'll see.
Yeah, start thinking to all of our lovely viewers out there, start thinking of suggestions from the Wayback Machine. I do know that one of the Wayback Machine books that we're going to end up reading, because it'll be interesting, is going to be Lord of Night. I think it's Simon Spurrier wrote it. It won for it's an old Night Lords book that actually inspired ADB to write the Night Lords trilogy. So chronologically comes before or something like that. Anyways, it was the one that won the Reader's Choice to like bring it back. So that'll be a Wayback book for us to read.
Okay.
Beyond that, though,
I mean, kind of can't do Caiaphas Cain. I kind of
Ingonata.
I ran that dry.
Yeah, that one. There's all kinds of series we could delve into, but
Yeah, but this
What's
was also just a preview. There's always more stuff.
Oh my god, there's always more stuff. But I was a little uninspired by it. I liked some of the things. Like I'm super excited about the Adeptus Sororitas book from Jude Reed, and that was she was really neat to listen to too, by the way. And obviously Ufthak Blackhawk, Be Still My Heart. Yeah, I actually
Come
pulled
on,
up
don't you
things.
want to see how Ariman fails again?
No. No, he is Sideshow Bob on the rakes. Seriously, it hasn't gone round the horn to being funny either. He is Sideshow Bob Lazarus. That's the name of the Dark Angel
Yeah,
that they're
but
following.
somehow Sideshow Bob is always funny with the rakes, no matter how many times he hits on it.
That is true. The thing that is exciting is that they are doing they're doing the secret to not to Harrow Master, but within that Renegades
Right, the
series.
Renegades.
That's really cool. I'm really excited for that. Even though it is the Emperor's Children. Wicked in the Divine Special Edition. It was criminal that book didn't have a special edition to begin with, so I'm kind of excited to buy a book that we already own. I mean, there's also that Eidolon book.
I'm interested in that.
We'll read that one because we've read all of the character series like that, and I am a little interested in what Eidolon's been up to and how he's gotten to where he is. A little.
Especially for a guy who lost his head.
They sewed it back on.
Yeah, totally did.
Using Orcish science, I think.
No, Fabulous Bill science. Even worse.
Even worse. I want you to know, okay, really quickly, I'm sure our podcast people will love to know this, but I was in the shower this morning and all of a sudden I had this realization. This is shower thoughts with Jen, where I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I was like, that shitheel didn't even figure out the Primaris. He had to break into Call's ship, steal it from him, and then he's going to totally claim it for his own. And be like, oh yes, I figured this out because I'm Fabulous Bill. It's like, you shitbird.
Yeah, he's Fabulous Bill.
That really bothered me for some reason this morning as I was washing my hair. I was like,
doesn't understand, why did my new men fail? Why is everything not perfect? Well, first of all, the reason why things aren't perfect is because you are involved.
Pretty much.
With all your talk about, one day they will defeat me. No, Bill, you will never let that happen.
No, you've programmed unquestioning fealty into these things. That really bothered me this morning. I need everyone to know that really bothered me for some reason this morning. I was like, he is going to lie and claim credit, even though he stole all of that.
Although I'm almost wondering if it's ha. You just thought that was the actual, but really, in his progenoids, that when you took the fake progenoids out, kind of like the fake Jew gold from South Park.
That was kind of funny. It could be, but I have a feeling. I mean, I think we know that he's going to end up making the great value version of Primaris for Abaddon, and then he's going to keep all of the good stuff for himself. But it's like, you didn't even figure that out. You just went and stole it.
Even if he takes the good stuff, because it's him, he's going to fuck it up.
He's going to bork it because he's going to be like, oh, "This is amazing.
I can make this better.
How can I tinker with this? How can I make this better?" It's the government philosophy, right? If it's not broken, fix it till it is. That is Fabulous Bill.
That is true. He is the government.
I don't know why, but I was washing my hair this morning and that just popped in my head and I was like, ooh, not okay.
But somewhere, Josh Reynolds knows that was written in and he's smiling. He's like, yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's my Bill.
That was 100% Josh's Bill. Lying, stealing, and all.
Yep. Hubris.
Sticks out.
Pride.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
These are just a few of Bill's favorite things.
Pretty much. It's all, yeah, their favorite sin.
Ah, good quote there. All right. This is what happens when we drink before a podcast. We're sorry.
This is 100% what happens when we drink before and during.
Yeah, well, I'll probably expect that next week with the awards. Just saying, because it's Christmas time. We're gonna
have another one of these.
We're gonna be jolly. Damn it.
We are. Damn it. It's the holidays. We're gonna be the happiest bunch of assholes. My second favorite line from the movie.
We're just going to be fucking balls of sunshine and festivities, okay? All right.
Exactly that.
So, with that, you've listened to the War. God. I feel like I need to take two, but this is not live, but I don't really edit this either. So, you've listened to the Warhammer 40k book club episode regarding Gobo Rides Again by Ruairidh James. Be sure to join us next time for the book club awards. That's next time. And then Sea of Souls by Chris Wright. We are an unofficial book club and not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find both the vidcast and podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like or subscribe, give a review, and all those wonderful things to the vidcast on YouTube or the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Our site also has articles about our adventures in reading other Warhammer 40k books and short stories outside of the book club books, so please stay a while and read from a crack. Yeah, I got nothing.
It's you some shower thoughts.
Well, that's the worst closing line ever. Wow.
Just saying.
And there goes the subscriber count.
Oh.
So, hope you guys stick with us. Till next time. We're sorry, and yet not sorry, because it's the holidays.
It is.
So.
And we're reading these books so you don't have to. You're welcome.
We do it all for you.
All for you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.